of thieves and police. Some of the boys became police, constables, and some became thieves, and some took the role of lambs. While they were thus enjoying their childhood pastimes, a demon known by the name of Vyomāsura, the demon who flies in the sky, appeared on the scene. He was the son of another great demon named Maya. These demons can perform wonderful magic. Vyomāsura took the part of a cowherd boy, playing as a thief, and stole many boys who were playing the part of lambs. One after another, he took away almost all the boys and put them in the caves of the mountain and sealed the mouths of the caves with stones. Krishna could understand the trick the demon was playing. Therefore, he caught hold of him exactly as a lion catches hold of a lamb. The demon tried to expand himself like a hill to escape arrest, but Krishna did not allow him to get out of his clutches. He was immediately thrown to the ground with great force and killed, just as an animal is killed in the slaughterhouse. After killing the Vyoma demon, Lord Krishna released all his friends from the caves of the mountain. He was then praised by his friends and by the demigods for these wonderful acts. He again returned to Vrindavana with his cows and friends. Thus ends the Bhaktivedanta purport of the 37th chapter of Krishna killing the Keśī demon and Vyomāsura. Hare Krishna. Thank you.
Chakshurmilitam jena tasmai Shri Gurave Namaha Shri Chaitanya Manobhistam Sthapitam Jena Bhutale Swayam Rupakada Mayam Tadhati Shapadantikam Vandehang Shri Guru Shri Jatapada Kamalang Shri Gurun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Stam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savatutam Parijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padan Sahagana Lolita Shri Vishakhan Vitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dina Bandho Jagatpate Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tapta Kamshana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanu Sute Devi Pranamami Bodhi Priye Vansha Kalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindho Pyevacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Shiva Shadi Gaur Bhaktavinda Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare Hare. We're waiting a moment or so. Hare Krishna Krishna. So here, before leaving Vrindavan, Krishna kills another couple of demons. Prabhupada said this is sort of Krishna's routine business in Vrindavan. Every day he kills a couple of demons. So Keśī, the horse demon, and this Vyomāsura, who was stealing the cowherd boys and imprisoning them within caves. And in the middle, he meets Narad Muni, who essentially gives us a taste of coming attractions, what pastimes the Lord will be performing going forward in Mathura and in Dwarka. He also gives us deep philosophical understanding about the position of Krishna. The professional reciters just want to talk about Leela, and especially Ras Leela, otherwise other Leela, without going deeply into understanding Krishna Tattva, the factual nature of Krishna. But Narad Muni glorifies Krishna in terms of the conclusive understandings of Krishna's nature, and his statements are instructive for us and worthy to hear and reflect upon. Without understanding the factual nature of Krishna, we'll think that Krishna is an ordinary human being or a mythical hero or whatever. Avajananti mamudha manashim tanamashita. Param bhavam ajananto. So we have to know Krishna's param bhavam, his position as the Supreme Personality of Godhead. Narad says he's the super soul, the supreme master of all mystic powers, the Lord of the universe, the all-pervading personality of Godhead, the resting place of the cosmos, the master of all the devotees, the Lord of everyone, devotee or not. He remains concealed within the heart of all, like fire within fuel. And he's self-sufficient. He existed before the creation. He exists after the creation. He exists after everything's destroyed. His energy creates all the material elements. And by his plan, the material world is created by the interaction of the modes of nature. And by Krishna, it's maintained and annihilated. He is the supreme controller, and yet he's unaffected by all these things. Namam karmani limpanti. And he comes to kill all the kings, so-called kings, who are actually demons. These hobgoblins are cheating people in the dress of the princely order. I have a certain affinity for these statements because it's my view that the present leaders of the world are as described. Hobgoblins is nice. I'm sure these well-educated, well-dressed, cultured people surrounded by influential leaders of other co-leaders of the world would object to being called hobgoblins. But the description is that they have the dress of leaders, but that their real business is to cheat people, to monopolize resources for themselves and enjoy sense gratification at the cost of the well-being of the world and the people and animals and other living beings who inhabit the world. But so Krishna comes to protect the principles of religion and, as we know, vinashaya tradushkritam, to get rid of such unwanted miscreants. So then we get the summary of Krishna's pastimes. I won't go through all of them because we just did. And Krishna, it's emphasized that Krishna's independent. He's not dependent on anything or anyone. By his own energy, he's able to do everything. And I'll stop here and see what kind of comments or questions you might wish to contribute. Krsna, Prabhu.
Thank you, Maharaj. In Srila Prabhupada's letter to Jagarini when she was getting initiated, he said that the scientists and politicians are leading everyone to hell. Please study my books very carefully. But I was thinking that in Kali Yuga, we talk about establishing Varnashram Dharma and even reinforcing the
strengthening the position from which people can exploit. Prabhupada therefore put emphasis on Brahmins. The present exploiters are mostly Vaishyas and Shudras, with maybe a little bit of Kshatriya, not really, but some Kshatriya semblance of some reflection of Kshatriya value, Kshatriya power. But there's no head. We have arms, we have legs. Maybe we have arms, we have a lot of legs and big belly. But a lot of arms, at least in terms of armaments, although that tends to be perhaps largely a Vaishya enterprise. That is to say, big corporate profit-taking business. But where's the head? Where's the head to give vision to the society? Varnashram means Vishnu Aradyate Panta, that it's all meant for the service of Vishnu, and then by performing prescribed duties, everyone's engaged in connection with Vishnu. So they've got a social system, but it's cut off from Vishnu. It's not aimed at the satisfaction of Vishnu, and therefore it's useless. And without spiritual vision, it's a headless society. So Prabhupada wanted Brahmins, which means people who have no opulence materially, who don't have wealth, don't occupy positions of worldly power. The Brahmins deliberately keep themselves poor. When Chanakya was the prime minister of Chandramaurya Gupta, he was living in a hut, although he was prime minister, to maintain his independence and his Brahminical position. So that's the arrangement of Varnashram, that the people with the real military power are in the number 2 spot, not in the top, and the people who are busy with money, they're in the number 3 spot, and the people who are uncontrolled and aimless and in the lowest mode of nature in the number 4 spot. So your control really comes from the Brahmins by spiritual vision. And then the Kshatriyas become the implementers of that Brahminical vision. So unless we have Brahmins, nothing will work. Nothing will work. And of course, Vaishnavas are supposed to be the best of the Brahmins, but they actually have to be, not just, as Prabhupada said, show bottle Brahmins. You want to add something or pick up?
I'm very satisfied with the answer. I was always under the impression, and maybe this is speculation, but that in the modern world, there's been over several centuries or more reaction to cruel, adharmic, irreligious behavior by superior people in society. And so there's a strong movement for egalitarianism, which at least recognizes that, I mean, we say varnashram dharma, it's one thing to have varnas and ashramas, but there has to be dharma. And I think that in some sense, the leveling tendency in history has been a reaction to, cruel leaders like Kali personified in the Punishment and Reward of Kali. He's a low-class person, but he's dressed like a king, and he's torturing Dharma and Mother Earth.
Yeah, I think Prabhupada gave a similar analysis that when the Kshatriyas ceased to be qualified as Kshatriyas, then they lost respect, and people wanted to drag them down. The French Revolution and all of that dragged down the kings and people in power. But again, it's a trick, because you drag them down, and then you've got the next batch of mushrooms that come up. So it's a sort of cheating that, yes, we'll give you egalitarianism. You run the government. We're all under your power. You elect us and you remove us, and so on and so on and so on. And it's simply not true. The monopolistic powers maintain control and give you the illusion that you have it. I was just a small thing, without going too deep an excursion into mundane matters. I was in Gainesville, Florida, coming back from some flight, and in the airport there was a desk set up to welcome delegates from what is it called? The Federal Reserve. The Federal Reserve is the central banking institution of the United States, but contrary to the Constitution of the United States, it's privately owned, and it's has some so. I just spent a few moments with the representative there. Wow, what are you doing in the airport? Well, we're welcoming delegates. I said, oh, you're from like a meeting company? No, we're from the Fed. And anyway, it came in our conversation, brief though it was, it came out that they're quasi-federal, which means that there's some sort of government involvement. The president, if I have it right, gets to pick the directors of the bank, but he gets to pick one like once every 6 years or something. So effectively, he has no power, and the system is well fortified, and one can't do anything about it. So you have private banks and private bankers who essentially own the entire economic system of the United States of America, and give money to Congress, give money to the government with interest. They loan money to the government. So the Constitution reserves the right to print money to Congress, and yet you have a private enterprise running the financial system and printing the money. And the wisdom often quoted is that, just give me the keys to the bank and I'll run everything. So similarly in South Africa, by the way, while the negotiations were going on for the handover of power from the apartheid government to Nelson Mandela's, there were various teams, and one was discussing financial matters. And so one of the new government members was called up a colleague, an Indian fellow who was a leader on their side, and said, they're willing to do this and they're willing to do that, but they want to keep the federal bank. He said, don't let them do it. They'll own everything. And of course, they did it. And so Nelson Mandela owned an ambitious program for the upliftment of the long oppressed African people. He owned the national debt, and he didn't own anything else. The bank owned the financial system. The mantra was, give him parliament, but keep the bank. Give him parliament, but keep the bank. So that's as far as I'm going to go with those topics, because otherwise it's a seminar and it's not a Krishna consciousness. It's a black hole, black holes in Krishna consciousness. So we came to hear about Krishna and his pastimes, but this is just to reinforce Prabhupada's point that the princely order are hobgoblins. Does Prabhupada say tricks? I don't remember if he said by tricks, but did he say that? He said that, right? That by tricks they take hold of the government. I can't look for it right now, but by tricky maneuvers they hold on to the actual power. And there's so much more I can say about this and won't. So the point is that it's an illusion. We've overthrown these despotic kings, and now we have government of the people, by the people, for the people. Rubbish. It's just an illusion and a trick. We hold the power, and we give you the illusion that you control the government. It's just a scam, a shameful scam. And this goes on it's reflected in various spheres. Women, we give you independence, and we exploit the hell out of you. We're so glad that you're independent because now there's no one, guarding. You have no guardians, and we can enjoy, and we can exploit. So in every phase, it's this illusion. You're given something and told, now you've got it, but you don't. You don't. They kept it, and they gave you, as Prabhupada said, an IOU. Post-dated check, we'll make you happy, we'll give you peace and prosperity, and we'll give you, and we'll give you, and we'll give you. But meanwhile, 1% of the population has 98% of the money. So it's simply hobgoblins. Simply hobgoblins. So one time Prabhupada said, perhaps more than once, that all right, if we have a democratic form of government in which now you are responsible for which rogues are in office, so then educate the common people to be Krishna conscious and to insist that their leaders be Krishna conscious. That was one approach that Prabhupada took. All right, then educate the people in general to be Krishna conscious so that they'll insist that their leaders be Krishna conscious. Otherwise, the other way to go at it is reach the top echelon of people and make them, but somehow or other, the people in charge have to be Krishna conscious. Otherwise, there'll be you can't expect anything good. Yes.
Hare Krishna Maharaj. So we see Prabhupada was obviously a Brahmana, but he also had the Kshatriya nature because he set up ISKCON. So I was just wondering if you could speak on how they can work together in one person.
Prabhupada was obviously a Brahmin, but he had a Kshatriya nature. Prabhupada was nirgun. He was beyond the qualities of Brahmana, Kshatriya. In fact, he's beyond the qualities of Brahmin, but he was a Vaishnava. The Vaishnav can do anything. He can perform Brahminical activities, he can do business, he can organize, he can mop the floor. If you saw that Prabhupada were mopping the floor, you wouldn't say, oh, yeah, he also had some Sudra qualities. Right? This is all devotional service. So it's on the transcendental platform. But yes, Prabhupada had expertise in Shastric knowledge, in organization, in business, in serving, in cleaning the floors and so on. So that's a quality of a devotee. A devotee is expert. A devotee is expert. But not because he's under this or that particular mode of nature, but because he's dedicated to the service of Krishna. And you can say anything that he's, anyway, I won't go too far deeply into that. But whatever's there in his background, all right, he'll use that for Krishna. Prabhupada had some background in the chemistry field, so he had that experience. He had some background as a householder, he had that experience. Whatever experience he had in this world, he used for Krishna. But it all has to be seen on the transcendental platform, not as being governed by the modes of nature. Something else.
Oh.
These hobgoblins are cheating people in the dress of the princely earth. So maybe that's the trick. He said maybe that's where the trick is. Prabhupada said these hobgoblins are cheating people. Just want to see one thing. Then we'll take your question. A hobgoblin, by definition, is a small, ugly goblin that makes trouble for humans. By extension, a source of dread, fear, or apprehension. Yes.
We sometimes hear that in Satya Yuga, demons, they live on a different planetary system. Then when time progresses, they live on the same planet, then in the same family, and then even within oneself, we have both the sides.
Yeah, we hear that a lot. I've never seen the Shastric quote, but I sort of have some sort of faith that it exists.
Yeah, first question was if that's true. And the second one, if that is true, and we have both sides within us, and our medium of determining the truth within our intelligence is tainted with our false ego, how can we actually see when we are going into that demonic side or the godly side within?
Going where?
Which side we are choosing, from which side we are using our intelligence.
One needs good fortune. How do we know, since there's both godly and ungodly tendencies within us, or good and ignorant qualities, how do we know when we're being governed by lower or by higher, our lower or by our higher nature? We need to be fortunate. In the Bhagavad Gita, Krishna also says, Mm. Indriyani mano buddhir asyadhisthanamuchyate. The mind, intelligence, and senses are contaminated by lust. Etan vimohoyatyesha. No, dehinam. Something. Jnanamavrita dehinam. Yeah. And it covers the knowledge of the otherwise wise living entity. The living entity is supposed to be Satchidananda, but his intelligence and senses and mind are covered by lust. So how do we do anything right with equipment like that? So the answer is that we have to be fortunate. Just intelligence alone will not be sufficient. The mind will certainly not be sufficient. The senses are worse still. But one has to be fortunate, which means the grace of Krishna, or the touch of devotional service, the transcendental touch of transcendental personalities. Without that, even someone may even be very intelligent, but he's demonically intelligent, or confusedly intelligent, or some other kind of intelligent, but not genuinely intelligent. Maya Pritagana, his intelligence is still governed or stolen by illusion. But what is that? Atapite deva padambujam toya prasada leshanugrihite pati janasi tattvam bhagavan mahimno nachanyam ekopi chiran vichinyam. Who can understand Krishna? A person who's got a little smidgen of your mercy. Prasada lesha. A little slice, a little bit of your mercy. Janasi tattvam bhagavan. He can understand your glories. And so-called learned men who go on speculating for thousands of years can't understand. Although they have big brains and big degrees and so many qualifications, they can't understand Krishna because prasada lesha nahi. No prasada lesha, not even a little. And so they get misled. They take a spiritual interest and they find that there's an incarnation of God around the corner, opening hospitals and doing magic tricks. Or they find out that you can have sex and be a sannyasi at the same time. And in fact, the essence of sannyas is to have a lot of sex. Well, this is, a religion made in heaven. So they get bewildered, or there's no God and they're all cheaters and they get frustrated because they're devoid of good fortune. And they may be devoid of good fortune because of their own stubborn obstinacy also. That's not causeless. But if they get a little mercy from a devotee, then they can understand Krishna. And then when they are connected with Krishna, so then they can start to get good intelligence. Tadami buddhi yogam tam. I give them more intelligence by which they can advance in Krishna consciousness. So it really depends on good fortune. Nothing else can replace that. We can study so many books, we can perform so many rituals, we can do this, we can do that, but without getting a little mercy from Krishna, we're not going to go anywhere. So the Krishna consciousness movement is meant for giving Krishna's mercy to people in the form of literature, in the form of the holy name, in the form of temples and temple activities, in the form of association with devotees. how to make the unfortunate people of this age fortunate. Then when they're connected with the spiritual energy, with the guidance of Shastra, with the guidance of the devotees, with the guidance of the spiritual master, then they can know what to do and what not to do. Shastra pramanam te karya karya vyavastita. Otherwise, manoratena asati dhavatobhi. They'll just be wandering around on the chariot of the mind, going this way, that way, not getting anywhere.
A little addition to the question. So that mercy is described as being causeless. So a dog can get mercy without even doing anything, or I'm really trying very hard and I still cannot get mercy, maybe. How do we rhyme that? Because then it seems that Krishna determines who can make progress and who not.
Causeless mercy, but what shall we say? There's some quote to the effect that one gets bhakti by bhakti. Tell me? Louder. Bhakti. Bhaktya sanjayate bhakti. Yeah. That from bhakti comes bhakti. So the beginning may be causeless, but then by the touch of bhakti, one gets more bhakti. It's like if you, somehow or other, if you want to start a business, you need some startup capital. Then if you have some startup capital, you can do something. You can waste it or you can turn it into a fortune. Without startup capital, you can't do anything. But once you have a little startup capital, you can go. So this connection has to be there, that we get some start in bhakti. And then ideally we get more mercy, not just that, okay, I got my startup capital, now I'm on my own. But we continue to depend on the mercy of the Vaishnavas. It's causeless. On the other hand, those who are looking for mercy can get mercy. It's not just that it's randomly distributed. It is randomly distributed. Chaitanya Mahaprabhu is randomly distributing, but those who yeyatamam prapadyante, those who respond, say, I got some mercy, give me some more. They get more. They get more. Krishna consciousness, we give books to everyone, we give the holy name to everyone. But if someone comes and says, I read your book, what other books do you have? I heard your chanting party. Where can I find out more? Those people, what do? We respond to them. Here, take 20 books. Here, come to our temple. Here, this, that, because they responded. Prabhupada said, you take one step toward Krishna, Krishna takes 10 steps toward you. It's not just mechanical. Is that okay? Something else?
Hare Krishna Maharaj. I have a story in regard to what you said, and it's also relating to yesterday's question about Agyata Sukriti. So, Srila Prabhupada was traveling on a South American airplane. You know the story. Maybe you
tell it.
Yeah. So there was this air hostess who was serving them, and when she saw Srila Prabhupada and the devotees, she was somehow very interested, and she kept asking, "What do you need?" And she brought them milk and whatever they asked for. And then Srila Prabhupada was eating puffed rice, and what the devotees had brought. And after he had finished taking this puffed rice, he handed it to the other devotees, and they started eating it. Now somehow this air hostess came by, and she said, "What's that?" And they said, "It's puffed rice." And she just, this is a very unusual action to take, but she stuck her hand into the puffed rice and threw some into her mouth. which is Srila Prabhupada's Maha. So they landed and off they went. So this story is from a book distributor who was traveling in a remote place, like somewhere in the Amazon forest. I don't know. That's what I understand. Very, very remote place. He knocks on one door, and a lady opens up the door. She has tilak. She has pictures of Srila Prabhupada and everything all over the place. And then she's, Hare Krishna, oh yeah, I have books. And do you have more books? Whatever. So she's a devotee in a remote village. She had just got that little bit of mercy. I mean, it's a lot of mercy, you can say, but that little moment's association with a pure devotee. So then that's the trigger. I asked, we were having a discussion with some devotees about this mercy and all of that. So I made a statement. I perhaps it's incorrect, but I said, 1 lifetime, 10 lifetimes, or 10,000 lifetimes. When you come in contact with Krishna consciousness, you're going back home. The only problem is your level of resistance. Your level of resistance to the process. So that's all we have to do is accept the process. Yeah.
Such a wonderful story.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Just a moment's association.
Yeah, Lavamatra Sadhu Sange Sarvasiddhi. So nice.
Yeah. I have a question about see, Narad Muni was speaking about all the pastimes to come. And we know that the pastimes are happening eternally. So I had a confusion about the, I can say sequence, but then it's perhaps beyond our dimension standing, because we live in a linear dimension. Time is moving in a linear fashion. But when we say Krishna is lifting Govardhan Hill, it's happening right now. And Sukadev Goswami is explaining to Maharaj Pariksit. Sukadev Goswami is explaining the Bhagavatam to Maharaj Pariksit. And then any other pastime, Lord Nishingadev is killing Hiranyakashipu. So it appears to be the same event happening multiple times. But I heard Srila Prabhupada saying it's like on a film reel.
On a
spool, a movie spool. And then all the images are there. And it's existing like that. But is it that it's somehow static and at the same time moving?
Prabhupada's usual example was the sun.
Sun.
Now it's 6 o'clock here, but it's in the next time zone, it's 7:30 or something like that. Then 8:30, 9:30. So someplace it's sunrise, someplace it's noon. Here it's just past sunset. So the same sun is performing all of these pastimes, going through all of these sequences in different parts of the world sequentially. But here we see that the sun is set. Someplace else they see that the sun is rising. So Krishna, someplace he's lifting Govardhan Hill, someplace he's killing Kamsa, someplace he's just appeared in the house of Nanda Maharaj, someplace he's getting married and bringing home a queen to Dwarka. All these things are going on because as things are going on with the sun. That's Prabhupada's usual example. And it's not exactly tightly scripted so that it has to be exactly the same everywhere. We hear from the Goswamis that sometimes he does things a little differently, not just for his own enjoyment, but basically the same business.
So if we take Putana, for example, so it's happening in...
Yes, some other universe, same business is going on.
But then when Putana gets liberated to the stage of being the mother...
Oh yeah, then you try to figure that out.
Yes. Is it a different jiva?
From another point of view, she has her eternal position. And when you're liberated to an eternal position, how does that exactly work? Because eternal is beyond time. And we're looking in things in terms of time. So how it exactly works will, what's the word? Puzzle our brains. It will puzzle our brains. There's so many things like that. Narad Muni goes to Vaikuntha and then comes back. But once you're in Vaikuntha, you're always in Vaikuntha. Once you're out of Vaikuntha, you're never in Vaikuntha. You know how to...
There's another one where Krishna and Arjun go to Mahavishnu.
Yeah.
And Mahavishnu is breathing in and out universes.
Yes.
And yet the time scale that if you're spending a millisecond there, but then he comes back and he comes back to the linear time at the exact point. So, he's the controller of time, but...
He does that, and yet King Raivata goes to, where is it? The Brahmaloka. And when he comes back, everybody's already gone. Anyone that you might have thought of marrying your daughter to, Brahma tells him they're gone long ago. So time is going to be very difficult to figure out. Time is going to be very difficult to figure. You can't put it on your microscopic slide. You can't divide it. You can't shoot. What are those things called? You can't shoot electrons at it, and Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Ram Ram, Hare Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare 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 Ram, Hare Krishna, Krishna. Are we back in action? Not till you press the buttons, right? I'm already there? Oh, okay. So we're never going to figure out time.
I had...
time puzzles are going to be puzzling forever.
I had read once, now I don't know where it was, that there are 64 dimensions.
Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna. 64.
64.
64 dimensions? No, that's just a sample. You can't limit it to 64. You can't say, okay, there's 64 categories for time. Once we understand these 64, we understand everything. Divide it up any way you want, but we're never going to understand it. It's always going to be too much. Even if we were 5 dimensions, we'd be lost. Forget 64. Yes, Chirini. We're giving you a microphone.
Hi, Bill. Maharaj, Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur comments on the anarthas represented by the different demons.
Mm-hmm.
Today was Keśī and Vyomāsura. Can you speak a little about?
Tell us.
I couldn't remember. I had just read it, and I went, which one was Keśī?
I couldn't remember either. I read it a long time
And I don't have
back.
internet because it's easy to look up, but I don't have any internet. If anybody here has any internet connection, it comes right up. Was it Pride? I remember I was concentrating on the first, because I was involved in a discussion about different things going on in ISKCON that are bones of contention. And I was thinking about that anartha is the forest fire, discord amongst devotees. So I thought it's nice to hear that and meditate on that.
Yeah, Krishna swallows it.
Then Krishna swallows it. How can we get Krishna to swallow it for us? Swallow it up. Yeah.
Chant Hare Krishna.
I found the
You found it?
Keśī demon.
Yeah, Keśī demon.
Keśī demon, the horse demon. The feeling that I am a great devotee. Keśī, the horse demon, the anartha is the feeling that I am a great devotee and a spiritual master. And Vyomāsura, the sky demon, associating with thieves and other rascals, and with people who put themselves forward as avatars.
Okay.
We were talking about time, and Narada Muni told
Mm.
Krishna that as time you kill all the belligerents on the battlefield.
Mm.
I have another question about Narada Muni was telling about the pastimes that are to come. And he talked about how Krishna took the Parijata flower and defeated Indra. And I was always puzzled by this because earlier in the Govardhan Leela, then Indra came with Surabhi and offered prayers and said, now I was bewildered, but now I recognize you as my master. But then just seems like blink of an eye, and he's again challenging Krishna.
Yeah.
But how does that happen?
I saw some comment about that recently. As I recall, the comment was to the effect that, this is the nature of conditioned life up to the demigods, that you knew, and then next thing you know, it's you're at it again.
I can relate.
Hmm?
I can relate to that.
Hare Krishna Maharaj, on the bhakti question, how exactly does bhakti go from someone's heart into another, especially when they don't know that you've done service for them?
How does bhakti go from one person's heart to another, especially when they don't know that they've done service for you? Srila Bhaktivinoda Thakur says that bhakti communicates itself from one sympathetic soul to another, the way electricity is transmitted. I'm paraphrasing, but that's sort of close to it. Like an electric current transmitted from one sympathetic soul to another. Bhakti has its own force. And particularly if someone is receptive, just like Narad Muni, he was a little boy, just the son of a maidservant, but he wasn't sassy, he wasn't addicted to sports, he was humble, he was a nice boy. And so the sages liked him. So they gave him mercy. Prabhupada said one time that my spiritual master liked me, that's all. Say you may be a dog, but if your spiritual master likes you. So that helps, that if someone is open, if someone is looking, if someone is gentle, then that's helpful. But even, Jagai, Madhai, anyone, by the mercy of a devotee. Prabhupada explained one time, he was walking in Mayapur, I think with Bhavananda and other devotees, and to illustrate causeless mercy, he just said like this. Took like a big imaginary sack of money and just, pushed it into the devotee's chest. That's causeless mercy. You didn't do anything, but someone chose to give you mercy. So that can happen randomly. Otherwise, by previous sukriti, you started. What is that? Pratyavayo nividyate. It's never lost. So you did some devotional service, 10%, 20%, 5%. In the next life, it comes back, or you come back from and begin where you left off because it's not lost. You become a more eligible candidate for mercy because you were already making progress on that line. Prabhupada, so from that point of view, we're all failures. We all started Krishna consciousness, but got off the train somewhere, or somehow didn't get to the final point of the journey. So now we're we have another chance in this lifetime. So we shouldn't blow it again. Or not necessarily but somehow we should finish it. That's the point. It's unfinished business. And it's our only real business, how to be engaged in the service of Krishna. So we should do it. We should finish it this lifetime.
Can I ask something else?
Hmm?
Some devotees told me that devotional service doesn't count unless you have a spiritual master. Is that true?
Devotional service doesn't count unless you have a spiritual master. Is that true? Yes. In Nectar of Devotion, it's said that unless one forms a connection with the spirit, unless one forms a connection with the spiritual master by initiation, the process of devotional service doesn't actually begin. So does that mean that everybody's wasting their time before they're initiated? We're asking them, please chant Hare Krishna, but there's not going to be any benefit from it, because they're not initiated. But it means it's probationary. You're doing something, you're making a start, you're going someplace, and it's kind of like, anyway, I won't make up examples, but you probably gave the example of a university. When you enroll, you get credit. I went to a university for some time without being enrolled. I just lived there and attended whatever classes I wanted. And I learned something maybe, but I wasn't really a student. I didn't sit for the exams. I didn't get any actual credit. I never got a degree. I was just you can say a friend of a student. I wasn't actually a student. But when you pay your tuition, you're accepted by the university, you're admitted, then you attend the classes, you sit for the exams and so on, you get your degree. Otherwise, people visit a university, they're checking out universities, they visit, they talk to the staff, maybe they audit a class or two, but that's fine. Maybe they learn something in those 2 days. But until you enroll, you're not going to, you haven't really gotten started. Is that okay?
So once we become initiated, then does all the past service count?
Yeah, sure. Everything counts. Everything counts. All those zeros now have value. And what to speak of, devotional service, that's not a zero. But even your zeros count. What to speak of whatever devotional service you did. Whatever you did in the temple, whatever you did to help the devotees. That all counts. Whatever you read, whatever you chanted, that all counts. So it's like high school credits that they carry over to college. You get some credits. But if you don't enroll in the college, your credits get wasted. Or like the airlines, you fly on such and such airline, and you can get retroactive credit, flight miles, if you enroll in their program. If you enroll in their program, your past flight counts to all the perks. if you don't enroll, it's all thrown out. You don't get anything. So we have to enroll. We have to establish the connection with Krishna through the process of initiation. Then it all counts. Okay, we're 1:15. I have to leave again timely. And who would like to lead kirtan? Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna,
Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna. Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare, Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare Krishna, Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama 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 Hare 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 Krishna Hare 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 Krishna 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 Hare 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 Rama Rama Hare 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 Krishna
Ashto Shri Srimad A.C. Bhakti Vedanta Swami Maharaj Prabhupada Ki Jai, Adanta Koti Vaishnavrinda Ki Jai, Nama Charja Srila Haridas Thakur Ki Jai, Prem Se Kaho Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhar Srivasadi Gaur Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai, Sri Sri Radha Krishna Gopinath Sham Kund Radha Kund Giri Govardhan Ki Jai, Vrindavan Dham Ki Jai, Navadip Dham Ki Jai, Jagannath Puri Ki Jai, Ganga Mai Ki Jai, Ramana Mai Ki Jai, Tulsi Devi Ki Jai, Bhakti Devi Ki Jai, Samaveta Bhaktivinoda Ki Jai. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. All glories to the assembled devotees. Gaur Premanande. Thank you all very much. Again, special thanks to Akuranath Prabhu and Shalarini Mataji. And be sure to get some prasadam on the way out. And we do have books again for those who may not have it. Hare Krishna.